The Pokemon Legends ZA Copium has been unreal after Nintendo of America dropped that it's going to be set entirely within Lumio City. But it's Pokemon Legends. Pokemon Legends means it's automatically going to be like the greatest thing ever, and you're not allowed to be critical of it. But then people realize, wait, it entirely? That's not good. So we saw this like fracturing where people realize, oh, this game is going to fumble. That's a red flag. And then other people are like, no, wait, still need to huff that copium. Legends Arceus was the best Pokemon game ever, even though it was the worst Pokemon game ever. It must be salvaged somehow. Sounds like a disappointing news at first, but having an entire Pokemon Legends game take place in a dense city actually sounds kind of cool. Could basically be GTA with Pokemon. Or we could just have a full game with a large, expansive city portion. The problem with Pokemon Legends is that it wasn't an open world game, and the open areas didn't build upon Pokemon X and Y, or not X and Y, Pokemon Sword and Shield, so Pokemon Legends brought nothing new to the table except broken catching and battle mechanics and the worst gameplay loop in Pokemon. And then the conclusion is this could be GTA with Pokemon. I've seen this argument against me, because I'm saying like, yo, this is the nail in the coffin, is that it takes place entirely within Lumio City, and then you can see like Game Freak trying to salvage that. That was another problem with Pokemon Legends. Like, if you have to ass pull so much, why make something so flawed to begin with? Because it's a place that belongs to both people and Pokemon. Also, we didn't really get a lot of breakdown as to how it goes, which is such a risky move. Why not just, like, actually show the plans for the game and not leave anything for speculation? Because this isn't hype. It's only concern, and that's not good initial marketing for the game because it means there's going to be a more critical eye as more and more releases, which is what I did with Pokemon Legends Arceus, and I realized, oh, this game's just garbage, and the website is literally telling you it's a garbage game. So, like, it belongs to both people and Pokemon. So, like, a full dex crammed into Lumio City, how much exploration, like, we weave in and out of buildings and alleyways, and people are like, yeah, but France has a sewer network that's expansive. Okay, so we're going to be running through the sewers, and then however the Pokemon gameplay expands for a main series Pokemon game where you're just inside of a city. Yeah, it turns out you can't compare GTA to Pokemon. Wow. And then you're just not allowed to make such blasphemous takes as, I was hype, and now I'm not hype. Entirely in one city? Lame, hype gone, give us Generation 5 remakes. But no! That the Generation 5 remake's bad because Pokemon community is toxic, and this is Game Freak's ultimate blunder. You cannot listen to Pokemon fans. It's like an 80% community of toxic sub-80 IQ idiots that just want what's worse for Pokemon, and then you get Pokemon Legends, and then trying to capitalize on it with like fan service and garbage like Pokemon Legends ZA. Awesome. And then even the king of weirdo takes. Wait, it's set in a city? Kinda hate this. But, you know, don't hate me. I'm a city boy for a video game. I'm not trying to play Spider-Man. You know, no nature, countryside is huge. This probably is the entire map. And then just, you know, trying to go on it. Paris has 1,000 years of sewers underneath it. Oh, I love this. The salvage, the weirdo takes. It's just so strange. I was like, Pokemon Legends is not allowed to be good. Or not allowed to be bad. Generation 5 remakes is what everyone wants, except Game Freak can't be trusted with it, so Generation 5 remakes are bad. Everything's bad except when Game Freak does the worst concept with Pokemon Legends. You know, what happened to wait and see instead of jumping to conclusions? Bro, it's the official tweet. You know, you're never happy. We can bet you'll change your mind in a few weeks. It's getting tedious. Bro, like, yeah, we don't know that. We literally know that because of the tweet. And then Centro. Centro is given official information, and they're so fraudulent, they can't be accurate. Like, Centro it's impossible for Centro to be accurate at this point because they only know how to jump the shark based off of all the fake information they've been exposed to and peddling for the last couple of years. The official Japanese account confirms Lumiose we see on the trailer is different from the previous version in X and Y. Except that's a complete lie, just as it's somehow different from the previous Lumio City. Lumio City didn't just come into existence with the tower, that's also the gym, which is a magnificent part of the city and also has all kinds of technology behind it. So, no, that's not it, and yeah, it says nothing about previous in X and Y. We don't know if the game is set in the present or the future, but we know the city scene in the trailer is not at the same point as X and Y. This is literally the same point as X and Y. The only thing, like, they made it so blatantly obvious as the conclusion. We are literally running through the city, as shown and explored in Pokemon X and Y, and even, like, all the boutique-y kind of feel with it, people and Pokemon interacting and engaging, and they just can't handle it because, again, there's, like, the Pokemon community is a majority of idiots at this point, so if anything is neon blue, they immediately think it's, like, 2050. Like, this must be the future, even though this is a basic city concept plan. And then they transition it because we have the map of modern Pokemon X and Y Lumiose, and then we get the city planning concept. How? Like, that's what I mean, like, the brain rot from just only existing in fake leaks. Also, Ku being confirmed like a super hyper mega fraud from trying to force Generation 5 so hard, because Ku's always been a fraud. All he's done is, and I've done multiple videos on this, we're just kind of throwing enough darts, being vague enough, and doing the kind of likely thing with a spin of Game Freak maybe throwing a curveball, and then just kind of backtracking when it was wrong. Like, oh, it must have been removed. Oh, this was, like, slightly inaccurate. Or putting, 20 different possibilities in a riddle, and then only needing one to come correct. Or having 1,000 people speculate on it, and then trying to pick out the one where it's like, see, this guy got it. Even though it's, like, just complete made-up nonsense the entire time. So the idiots thinking that Lumiose takes place in the future is just next level. What if Pokemon Legend Z is about jumping back and forth between the past and the future? It would explain the different styles. There's no different styles. This is just how concepting and city planning works, and they try to make it as impossible to screw up because it's about the city development plan. Urban redevelopment in a game of Legend, which means we are building Pokemon X and Y. It's not hard, but these kids only know fake leaks. They only know nonsense. They only know the fan fiction inside their head, and they can't appreciate reality because they've become that deranged from being terminally online. Also, just like takes from me talking about, like, just me being down on the entire thing. I seriously wonder if you really like Pokemon. How do you exist in a constant state of annoyance at something you apparently like? And then this always gets, like, more upvotes, and I never hear back from the person. It's like, wait a second. I love Pokemon Let's Go. Everyone hated it, but you're positive. You're in the right if you hate Pokemon Let's Go, if you hate Sword and Shield, if you hate Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, if you hate Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Shine Pearl, especially the chibi stuff. All the fear was, oh no, Unova made by Ilka would be the worst thing ever. It's like, no. Brilliant Diamond Shine Pearl bangs. Scarlet and Violet's great. Pokemon Sword and Shield with DLC is incredible, and Pokemon Let's Go is the second best Pokemon games behind Heart Gold, Soul Silver. So yeah, there's only been 2 fumbles in Pokemon in, like, the last 15 years. Actually, no, there's only been, like, 2 fumbles ever. Generation 5, which is technically 2 in its own, Pokemon X and Y and X and Y 2, and then Pokemon Legends Arceus. That's it. Everything else has been incredible, but somehow that means I am in a constant state of annoyance and I don't like Pokemon for disliking one thing on the Nintendo Switch. But no, facts are inconvenient for idiots, and they only live for hate and toxicity and just making up shit about me. It's actually wild. You are the Pokemon fanbase enemy. Everyone's having hopes for this game for the last hours, and you're doing clickbait thumbnails. Glad most of the fandom isn't like you. Most of the fandom not being like me is why the Pokemon community is the worst, and Pokemon is dead, and this is like the ultimate fumble from Game Freak. They listened to the idiots, and then Palworld came out of nowhere. It's actually just, like, too much disrespect from Game Freak. Game Freak didn't think that something could come out of nowhere and challenge them for market share, and then it happened, and now, like, they're stuck with Pokemon Legends ZA, which already is shaping up to make no sense and being a fumble. But again, like, wait, how am I clickbaiting when I am taking the Nintendo tweet and I'm putting exactly the Nintendo tweet into my thumbnail? Same thing happened with the Pokemon Legends Arceus Copium. I read the website and people said, you're lying, Verlisify. So it's like, wait a second, so the reality of the game is so bad that I must be, like, attacked over reading the website, but then the game launched exactly as stated at the website, and that's the greatest thing ever. So I'm not allowed to be right, even when I'm right. I don't know. This guy can't go 2 minutes without crapping on anything that isn't a standard mainline game. As explained, Pokemon Legends is mainline. So how are you, like, defending something you're trashing? Like, this person is the guy shitting on Pokemon Legends by calling it a spin-off game because it can't be defended as a main series. despite being main series. Didn't he also say Pokemon Legends Arceus was going to be garbage? One of the greatest games in Pokemon history. The numbers don't lie. The other, like, insane delusion where the numbers of Pokemon Legends is that it's the worst-selling modern Pokemon game. It's also just a severely underperforming Nintendo Switch game. So here we have Pokemon Sword and Shield, here we have Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Obviously, these games are good enough to still generate sales and still perform very well. So, like, that's what I mean. It's the vocal minority. Real people aren't on Twitter. Twitter is not the real world. And all these terminally online kids, like, they just live there to be toxic and ill and have, like, the most deranged and deluded takes, following Centro, following fake leaks, and then agreeing with just being completely wrong and detached from reality. Kind of insane. Not even kind of insane. Fully insane. And then we get to the bottom. Oh, look at that. No Pokemon Legends. These idiots actually think that 10 million individuals bought both copies of Scarlet and Violet for just themselves. Therefore, Pokemon Legends sold better. It's a few 100,000 max. Like, people say, but there's the X amount of dual copies sold. Yes, that's what's called a family unit. A double pack sale is overwhelmingly going to skew for multiple individuals. So even if it's like a few 100,000 people owning both copies for just themselves, that means it's 24 million sales versus 15 million sales. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, despite all the hate, just infinitely better games, which is why they sold outrageously better. Same thing for Pokemon Sword and Shield, especially with the DLC. Like, DLC completes it, so that means we have more sales on top of an undisclosed millions of DLC buys for Pokemon Sword and Shield because the games are really good. And also, the thing about Pokemon Legends is that it launched over 3 years after Pokemon Let's Go, so the actual sales units for the Nintendo Switch are much different. So when Pokemon Let's Go came out, there were less than 30 million Nintendo Switch sales, and Pokemon Let's Go got 10 million. 1 in 3 people with a Nintendo Switch got Pokemon Let's Go. Pokemon Legends had over 100 million Nintendo Switches. And despite having over 100 million Nintendo Switches owned, it never even ranked in the top Nintendo Switch selling games. So less than 13% versus the 30% for Pokemon Let's Go. Yeah, the numbers don't lie. Real Pokemon fans and non-weirdos saw it for the trash game that it is. And the sales reflect that. Meanwhile, like, a lot of people just see Pokemon Sword and Shield, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I mean, even Pokemon Let's Go for its time, just being way better games worth supporting. Also, just, like, random tweets and nonsense. So this person responded to me, that's crazy. Anyway, hack teams are valid as long as they're able to be within the limits of viable training. So just hacking is okay. Standard toxicity in Pokemon. And then more insane tweets about this being in the future. We don't know enough about the Pokemon Company's plan with this game, but we can draw a logical conclusion that ZA is happening in the future. This is just the flood of midwits poisoning the Pokemon community. It's the obvious logical conclusion that takes place in the future because this looks blue. It feels like the future. Even though if we're in the past, yeah, technically modern day, exactly X and Y Lumio City is in the future from the point where this is being told. It's baffling. It's the online death of critical thinking. That no one has common sense. No one can actually rationalize anything for themselves because they've only been exposed to fraudulent Poketubers, fake news, and fake leaks, and just all kinds of other garbage content. And then they just think, like, yes, being restricted to a city in a Pokemon game is actually a good thing. Ignoring that's also going to severely restrict the story that can be told in a game of Legend. Also, it just kind of like shows the flawed premise of Pokemon Legends in general, where it's like, wait, how would these events be so significant to make a story of when none of it is told in Pokemon X and Y? We should have just gotten a raw Pokemon Z version. Give us the sequel, have the exposition explain anything in the history that needs to be explained, and then just make it an epic Pokemon Z version that we never got because a lot of people are looking back fondly on Pokemon X and Y. Also, a sequel is far more interesting because Lysander's fate is unknown. They could just kill him off, and then we have to deal with the repercussions of that into the future of Lumiose while also giving Zygarde meaning, and then building upon the things that just kind of didn't get enough elaboration inside of Kalos. Then we go to the locked door in the power plant and find like some kind of other crazy motivation or story inside of the Kalos region. It's a lot easier to build on a story than retcon with garbage like we see with Pokemon Legends. So it's going to have the same problems that I proved with Pokemon Legends Arceus, that the story is just made up fanficky garbage, and then also the response to that is, well, it's in a different universe, therefore it's okay to have its own story. That is objectively lazy and bad writing if your solution is, multiverse. So we're allowed to just throw away lore and not have any kind of consistency between any of the games and any of the canon. That is stupid. But after what I've shown, do you expect anything different from the Pokemon community? So, hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. It's gonna be another mess because that's just what happens when we got Pokemon Legends on the horizon. The community loses their mind and all the fake idiots in Pokemon really expose themselves because they cannot be attached to reality in any way. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.